Chelsea against Manchester City. Maurizio Sarri, 4 months in charge, versus Pep Guardiola, 2 years and 4 months in charge. Chelsea will need to be at their very best to get anything out of their game, even with Man City missing 2 of their very best players. And this is certainly Maurizio Sarri's toughest test so far, in a game ahead of which I'm not filled with all too much confidence. To find out everything you need to know about both sides ahead of the game, make sure you watch all of this preview. Hello there guys, and welcome back to 100% Chelsea for my preview of the Chelsea versus Manchester City game taking place tomorrow evening at 5:30 PM UK time at Stamford Bridge. And well, it's a game I'm not really looking forward to because I'm not exactly confident. I'm a little bit scared we're going to get battered, to be honest. I am a little bit. I mean, I am still kind of looking forward to it because there's always the chance we're going to cause an upset, as mad as it sounds that Chelsea can cause an upset, really. But, maybe we can. And that would then obviously be incredible. Of course, this is the preview. Tomorrow there will be a review, there will be fan cams, there will be a vlog coming out as well. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, do make sure you subscribe to 100% Chelsea if you haven't already. Plus, let's see whether we can hit 400 or more likes in this video. That would be massively appreciated if you could smash the like button down below. I would absolutely love that. But now getting into the preview and starting it off, as always, by speaking about our opposition, which of course is Manchester City. And let's not beat around the bush here. City are good, very good, without doubt the best team in England, quite possibly the best team in Europe and therefore then in the world. Even if they can't always show it in the Champions League, still think they're very much up there as the best team in the world. And they are top of the league in England for a reason. They haven't lost a game for a reason, and the only reason they aren't further away from Liverpool is Mahrez missing a last-minute penalty at Anfield. The only other time they dropped points in the league was their 1-1 draw with Wolves, which I suppose kind of makes our defeat against them, in midweek a little less painful. I mean, not really, I suppose, in theory. I mean, City are on 41 points from 15 games with 13 wins and the 2 draws I just mentioned, and therefore then obviously 0 defeats, scoring by far the most goals in the league with 45, which is a ridiculous ratio. That's an average of 3 goals every single game. And they also only conceded 7 goals, which is 1 more than Liverpool, but 6 less than the next best team in that stat, in that aspect, which actually is Chelsea. Obviously, we've conceded 13. In all competitions, City have actually lost 1 game, 2-1 against Lyon at the Etihad. And that just seems to be something about Lyon that doesn't suit City. Because also in the away game, they only managed to get a 2-2 draw in which Lyon actually took the lead twice and City had to come back. Just generally, their squad is just ridiculous. Like, that squad is so ridiculous. The depth they have, the quality they have is mad. Kevin De Bruyne, I'd say their best player, has barely played this season. Only 3 games he's featured in the league and never played more than 30 minutes. He only ever came on as a sub, I think, unless he came off injured in one of them. I'm not sure. But, he's been hit with 2 long-term injuries already this season. And still, they're basically winning every game. And recently, also Sergio Aguero has been injured. Arguably their second best player. And he's missed the last 2 games as well. But still, they've scored 5 goals in those 2 games. Like, both De Bruyne and Aguero are confirmed by Pep Guardiola to miss the game against us. Which, of course, is certainly better than worse for us that they're not playing. But especially with De Bruyne in midfield, they have so many quality replacements that it doesn't really harm them all that much. Of course, they'd always rather have De Bruyne because he's their best player. But still, they have so many other good players that you don't really feel it. Gabriel Jesus, instead of Aguero up front, is a lot more of a downgrade. But then they have Raheem Sterling, who's on 8 goals and 6 assists. Leroy Sané with 6 goals and 5 assists. Riyad Mahrez and David Silva with 5 goals and 2 assists. Bernardo Silva with 4 goals and 3 assists. And even Gundogan with 3 goals and 2 assists. Just in the league, those stats are. To make up for that basically downgrade up front with Aguero not playing, who's already scored 8 goals himself as well. They have so many goal scorers around it, it's ridiculous. And you might be thinking, why on earth is he licking City's arse that much? I'm just not. I'm just being honest. They are that good, which is a little bit scary, but they are. And, their team sheet formation-wise, it mostly looks like a 4-3-3. But it changes so much during games, whether they're defending or whether they're attacking. It changes to a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-2-4 sometimes, or even a 4-2-3. Some crazy things Pep Guardiola comes up with. And, God knows what else they could be defined as in some snippets of games, because obviously they just move so much, whether that's with pressing or just generally the movement on the ball and around the ball to create chances for themselves, which is why they are so good. Like, they're incredible on the ball. They barely ever lose possession. Their work rate, like I said, is immaculate, both on the press and while attacking. Like, they always seem to have 4 or 5 players in and around the box, but then they're always back in time, like enough players, when they're hit on a counter. And also they're very smart with their fouls. Basically every player in their team is like Kante is for us, as they get away with probably 10 plus tactical fouls almost every game, but barely ever getting booked because they just do it in a smart way. You know, they smile at the ref and stuff like that, and then they don't get booked a lot of the time, which is obviously frustrating, but they're smart about it. Like, it's nothing to criticise City for. Plus, their fullbacks, especially Kyle Walker with Mendy injured again, do what ours don't do. You know, they basically become secondary wingers against defensive opponents without still leaving every gap possible at the back, which, you know, especially Marcos Alonso does tend to do, especially recently. And obviously, they're also very clinical. That's why they have scored 45 goals in the league. And we haven't. And we're not that clinical. And that's why we struggle more than they do. Not just the only reason, but obviously being clinical is very important in football. So, it is going to be a very difficult game. But to be honest, there's not that much more to say on Man City. So now let's get into Maurizio Sarri's pre-match press conference. And on team news, Sarri said that we have no serious injuries. He thinks every player will be able to play, but he has to see the last training session to know for sure. But he didn't give any further information as to why Ross Barkley wasn't involved in the last two games, whether there is a minor injury going on, even though, you know, he said before the Wolves game there's no injuries. And he said it again today. You know, we'll have to wait and see whether Barkley's involved tomorrow. Maybe he's just being left out at the moment for Kovacic and Loftus-Cheek. I don't know. Then the boss said that we have big problems with dealing with matches, which, you know, we kind of all figured out by now. But he said we play well for the majority of games, but then we have periods of complete blackouts. Against Fulham, he said we were lucky because they didn't score when we had the kind of blackout period at the start of the second half. And against Wolves, we then weren't, you know, lucky. We got unlucky a little bit because they did score with both of their 2 shots on target, you know, in that game, and, you know, we couldn't come back from that. Like he said, you know, not dealing with matches very well at all. But Sarri does think that it's normal that we are facing difficulties in this period, as we are, just like everyone knows, you know, trying to get into a new way of playing football. And, you know, he said we have to solve problem by problem, day by day, to improve overall. It's not like one day to another things. He said sooner or later we were always going to face problems when completely changing the idea of football, because you have to change the mentality of 25 players, and that's difficult and it takes time. And Sarri still thinks, he said similar things after the Spurs defeat, that we lack determination in some games. For example, again against Wolves, he said we didn't have the right determination to kill the game off. And you know, he's right in that, in my opinion, you know, in some cases anyway. But it's Sarri's job to make the players motivated and determined. You know, it's not an easy job, you know, when the players are not doing it. But at the end of the day, that's still his job. On Manchester City, the boss stated that beating them over the whole season is almost impossible for us at the moment. But in a game of 90 minutes, anything can happen. And then lastly, Sarri spoke on Alonso's poor form recently. And he said it's not to do with him being tired, because that's basically the question that the journalist asked. Is he tired? Is that why he's not playing well? And, you know, Sarri said it can't be, because he wasn't with the national team in the last break. He didn't play in the Europa League, so he only plays every weekend, basically. So he can't be tired. And, you know, Sarri said that he wants to see the last training session to make a decision as to who will start, after saying that he does, you know, see Emerson Palmieri as a good option for the position. But he did say that without Alonso, we could have big problems with set pieces, which I can understand because, you know, we don't have that many tall players. Well, we have two, plus the striker. So that's it. So I can understand why a tall player can be helpful. But if the tall player causes so many other problems, I'm not sure whether that's worth it. But yeah, that's it from the press conference, and now coming to Chelsea. And lineup-wise, there are quite a few doubts in my mind as to who I would go with and as to who I think Sarri will pick. Now, Kepa, Rudiger and David Luiz will and also should start. Azpilicueta will start and probably should start too. He's not filling that right-back role perfectly under Sarri just yet, but in my opinion, with, you know, the exception of his poor crossing, which still hasn't really improved significantly, overall in that role, in filling that role, he is improving in my opinion. Alonso at the moment, on the other side, quite frankly, should be dropped, shouldn't be playing. But whether Emerson Palmieri is capable of going from facing the likes of PAOK, Bate Borisov and Vidi to facing Manchester City, I'm not quite sure, because that's quite a big difference to what he's been used to, you know, recently, because he's not played anyone else, basically. I mean, he did play against Liverpool in the Cup, who did field a pretty good team. I think Salah played on his side in that game, if I'm not mistaken, and he did okay and scored in that game, so maybe he is ready. I mean, me personally, I would actually try out Emerson, just because with Alonso's lack of pace, he could have his best day, you know, he could play to his very, very best, and he would still struggle a lot against the likes of, you know, Sterling Amares and Kyle Walker. So, you know, I would go with Emerson, like I said, but I do still think that Maurizio Sarri will pick Alonso. In midfield, obviously Jorginho and Kante will start and should start as well. Kovacic, I'm almost certain will be their third midfielder, although I still do believe that Loftus-Cheek could be a good option in there too. Quicker and stronger and much more of a goal threat than Kovacic is, which against Manchester City, when we will be forced to counter-attack quite a bit, I think, could be very useful. But of course, his slick passing, his quick passing isn't as good as Kovacic's. It's up to Sarri, and, you know, like I said, I think it will be Kovacic. Hazard, of course, will start on the left. I'm also pretty convinced that Pedro will start on the right rather than Willian. I mean, me personally, I would like to see Callum Hudson on the right. His crossing seems very good. You know, he only took him one cross to find Morata's head and scored. Of course, that's not a guarantee that his crossing will always be like that. But, you know, Sarri spoke of lack of determination. And that certainly won't be an issue with Callum Hudson-Odoi, the 18-year-old that has been at Chelsea since he's 8. So, you know, that certainly won't be an issue. I'm pretty sure at least. But, you know, to be honest, as long as it's not Willian that starts on the right, I can deal with it. I am fine with Pedro. And up front is another matter altogether, because both of our options, Morata and Olivier Giroud, aren't great at all. I know that most of you prefer Olivier Giroud to Morata, but I don't, especially against City I don't, because I just don't see us outpassing City in that area of the pitch, you know, around our attackers and their defensive midfielders and defenders. I just don't see that happening. So Giroud dropping deep and, you know, his one-touch layoff that he does with Hazard and other players around him, I don't think would be very effective. But spaces in behind the defence are a thing with City, especially with their press and stuff. Obviously, you still have to be able to use it. You know, you play those over the top balls, which, you know, without Fabregas, we don't have that many players that are very good at that. But still, Alvaro Morata is a lot more capable, you know, just by having pace while Giroud doesn't, you know, of using that space than Olivier Giroud is. So that's what I would go with Morata. Who Sarri would choose, I have absolutely no idea. I think the more likely is Olivier Giroud. But, you know, I would go with Morata. We'll just have to wait and see anyway. It doesn't really matter what I would go with. Just see who Sarri picks tomorrow and just see how they do then. On screen, you can now see what I think Sarri will pick. But let's move on with the video, because at the end of the day, tomorrow, it's the same thing as always. You know, the same things as always are important, because we're not going to change our way of playing. We're not going to try to defend for our lives out of nowhere. So the pressing needs to be on point. Needs to be so much better than it has been for a month, basically. The movement needs to be crazy. And the passing needs to go from snail pace to flash speed, which if we do that, would us allow to create chances. I am certain of that, and then we'll just have to take those chances, which is another matter altogether. I do understand that. But are we even capable of creating those chances? Are we even capable of pressing that high and pressing that much and pressing that well, moving, passing that quickly? I think we are capable of it, but will we do it? I very much doubt it. But the most important thing tomorrow is just working hard on our pitch, leaving everything we have on that pitch, showing that determination and motivation that we lacked against Spurs and in other games. If we don't do that, we might as well not turn up, because if we don't, City will rip us to pieces and absolutely batter us. If we do, maybe there is a small chance of getting the win, or at least a draw. Maybe, just maybe. Even then, I'm not certain. But without it, if we don't do it, there's no chance. My score prediction is going to be as honest as I can be. I think we're going to lose. I think we're going to lose 3-1. And I wouldn't even be upset if we don't concede more than 3 goals and actually score one ourselves. I wouldn't even be all too upset with that. I mean, Guardiola has only won at the Bridge once, but Sarri has always lost against Guardiola. Although, you know, rather unfortunate more than once. You know, still not the greatest record. Obviously, it could possibly hint at a draw, I suppose. But even for that, quite frankly, we'd have to be at the very best. And I just don't see it happening. To be honest, I just don't see it happening. But yeah, that's really it for me. Leave me all of your thoughts ahead of the game down in the comment section below. Are you any more confident than I am? Let me know. Leave me your score predictions and your predicted lineups down in the comment section below. Like I said in the beginning, let's see whether we can hit 400 or more likes on this video. That would be massively appreciated. So please do make sure to smash that like button down below. It does really show us that you do enjoy our content. If you don't already, do make sure you follow me on my social media, which is last1507 on both Instagram and Twitter. As you can see over here, and also the links to both of them are down in the description below. So if you could follow me there, that would be massively appreciated. And of course, this is YouTube. So if you haven't already, do make sure you subscribe to 100% Chelsea by clicking the red subscribe button down there. You know, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell button right next to it so you don't miss any of our future videos. Simply because that's how YouTube works. Videos don't show up in sub boxes and all of that. So if you don't want to miss out on any of the videos, make sure you click the notification bell button. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to the game. I'm kind of not. I am worried, but maybe we can do something big. Who knows? Thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you next time.